We would like to invite Mr. Ganesh Narayanan, the head of cybersecurity solutions for APAC at Telstra. So a bit of information about him. He's a cybersecurity and telecommunications expert, leading teams across Asia Pacific as head of cybersecurity solutions at Telstra. A published poet in English and Tamil, his inspirational words uplift hearts. Seasoned Toastmasters speaker, entrepreneur, and cultural enthusiast, fostering community through Vessel Corporation and literary programs. Mr. Ganesh Narayanan, the stage is yours. We're eager to hear your raw story.
Who am I? Standing after a siesta and preventing your fiesta, right? Who am I? Soak me deep inside the sand, still I would peep out grand. Seeking growth always, I'm a seed. The hands of the clock might prick, but I blossom with every tick. Seeking every second of life, I am time. Closing the sky with a night cannot deny in me a brand new light. Seeking new light always, I'm a dawn. Thunder might beat me black and blue. Though I fall, I still delight a few. Seeking social joy, I'm rain. Blowing me hard inside out brings out in me without doubt the best. I am confidence. Hi, I am Narayanan Ganesh Narayanan. I won't be standing before you today and talking about my raw stories had I not had those challenges in my life. Had I not had those challenges in my life, I wouldn't be talking my stories with conviction on every time that I fell, how I rose. A river has its very humble beginnings. It grows through a gland flow through the mountains, falls into a gorge, goes through the plains. It goes through a lot of obstacles, rocks, stones, meanders. It widens, narrows, droughts, floods. But it always keeps up to its final objective, to reach the sea. If you know the river, you know the epitome of human life. If you know the workflow of the river, you can come up with any challenges that you have and rise up in the life. And that's why I have a pen name called Narayanan, the lover of river. All right, I'm here to share before you some of the key lessons that I got in the last 5 decades of my life. And you know my age. All right, I was born in a very small village called Talayuthu in the Tirunelveli District of Tamil Nadu, in the southernmost tip of India. As you know, it's a small town. I had small town attitude. What is small town attitude? I was shy. I was an introvert. I wouldn't speak to someone. I had social stigma, as they call it now. And above all that, I had stammering. I used to stammer every grammar of a sentence, so much so that my primary school teachers, in order to avoid the humiliation and the harassment that I would get from the fellow students, gave me exemption from reading even passages. I thought it was convenient till my history teacher during my primary 6 told me, Ganesh, how long are you going to do this? That kindled an avalanche of thoughts inside me. I thought, if I cannot speak, can I write? I was very good academically. I could write very well. I thought, if I can convert my handicap to a potential, if I cannot speak, I can write. And I became a poet at the age of 10. That time, there was a place, a place called Kutralam. It's a very famous waterfalls. It's called the Niagara of South India. My reflective of the mood that I was in, I wrote my first poem. I still remember that. Oh Kutralam, oh waterfall, you are a challenger and you're amazing. You rise even when you fall. So this poem was published in the famous newspaper that time called Dinamalar. And even today, I am writing. I have published 3 books so far in poetry and self-motivation. Today in Tamil Marasu, my poem about neighborhood has come in. So convert your handicap to a potential. If you cannot speak, write. Did it solve all my problems? Not really. I was still shy. I was still an introvert. I was still not talking. And daddy time had the last laugh. My father was transferred to a much bigger city called Pondicherry. I had new friends, new minglings, new teachers, and Ganesh went into a cocoon. I went into even more bigger shell. I wasn't able to interact with my teachers, and it showed up in my A levels, my plus 2. I scored 68%. I was expected to score more than 95%, and I ended up with 68%. In India, it is considered more a failure than a pass. I could not get entry into any engineering colleges on my own score, so much so that I had to be indebted to my uncle, who gave me a capitation fees and an admission fees to join a private engineering college in a place called Sivakasi. It was the lowermost point of, it's the lowermost ebb in my life. I used to be academically brilliant and I scored 68%. And it was not the end. It was the first day of the engineering college, and as it is, I was fretting to see new people, the social stigma that I had. Seeing 200 people from my class, from all walks of life, from different styles, different lingos, different languages, I freaked out. I said, I'm going to commute to the college every day from my uncle's house. I traveled it, and my uncle was in a place called Tenkasi, which was 200 kilometers away from the college. I'm not joking. I traveled 200 kilometers in the morning and came back home another 200 kilometers. Traveled 400 kilometers just to avoid the ignominy of facing people, just because of the social stigma and the inertness and the fear to talk to people. And it wasn't over that time till my maths professor, to whom I'm indebted for life, Professor G. Chandrasekharan, said, you have a unique way of communicating everything. I was very good, though, in engineering mathematics. I was very good in trigonometry, to be sure. And I had a very unique way of communicating in writing about trigonometry. I used to write poems on trigonometry, can you imagine? I wrote poems on trigonometry. I used to have a lot of jokes, and I interspersed my exam papers with jokes and comedy. And he told me, Ganesh, you have to share this with the bigger class. I freaked out again. He gave me 3 weeks. There was no exemption this time. I had to go and present myself. And the D-Day came, and I was standing in front of 200 completely different people. And this was the first time I was ever on stage at the age of 17. And then something flashed across me. Ganesh, convert your handicap to a potential. I was able to write comically about mathematics. Why can't I convey the same thing in speaking? Forget about how you speak. Just convey whatever you're writing into speaking. And as I stood before the class and I said, I'm going to do Max comedy. Hey, Max, I'm sick and tired of solving your problems. And please grow up and solve your own problems. Immediately, I can hear thunderous applause from the students, giggles and laughs, and everybody was laughing around me. And that was a huge boost for me. I felt elated. This was the first time I'm standing on the stage and somebody acknowledging what I'm talking. And for the next 45 minutes, I just rambled on. I cracked jokes. I said poetry. In between, I talked about Max also. At the end of 1 hour, when I spoke, I had an elated feeling. I felt I have arrived. So that was a second lesson, ladies and gentlemen, that I got. If you enjoy what you're doing, there is no chance for the audience. They also have to enjoy it together with you. And what you think about you is more important than what others think about you. That feeling of social stigma went away just in one stage. So that was a huge lesson for me. So what you think about you is more important than what others think about you. And after that, I aced every stage that I got. It was literary, cultural, it could be quiz competitions, it could be anything. I was there on the stage, winning prizes. And I even found my life match on the stage in third year. Can you imagine a guy who was stammering and having social stigma, finding my life match on the stage? And I got a decent job. That was a time in India when the foreign countries set up their own big companies here. And I was always amazed at Hewlett-Packard. I wanted to join Hewlett-Packard anyhow. And because of the capability I had in writing, I aced the written examination. And here I was standing before an American guy who was going to take my final oral interview. And that's again the stigma that I had. And he kept saying something which I could never understand. It was Latin and Greek to me. When he finished, I told him, sir, I could not understand you. Can you give me a challenge? And he wasn't ready to ask. He was ready to listen. And then he was intrigued by my question. And he said, okay, do you want a challenge? Can you sell RF spectrum analyzer in India and tell me how? This is mathematics to me. This is my comfort zone. When you throw up a challenge, I can respond. Turn your handicap to a potential. I used to read a lot of books from Stephen Covey. I love his habits book. And the second habit is something which is very close to me. Begin with the end in mind. It is not Stephen Covey. It is my river that told the same thing. Begin with the end in mind. Go and join the sea somehow. So I told him, sir, I will begin with the end in mind and take a bigger picture. Then he said, what is that bigger picture that you're looking at? I said, I'm going to sell $1 million of RF spectrum analyzers in India, and I'm going to meet these many customers. What, when, where, who, how. I gave him a complete table of go-to-market approach within this 15, 20 minutes. I didn't talk anything fancy. I wasn't having tip-tongue English that guy was communicating to me, but I conveyed to him what I will do. So when you stand aside, ladies and gentlemen, and then look at a challenge, break it down into a bigger picture, and then begin with the end in mind, everything falls into place. So that was my third lesson that I got. And I was really acing after that. I got a lot of accolades in my company, so much so that they transferred me with a promotion to Singapore in 2000. And I was doing very well here. They sponsored my MBA with California State University. After MBA, my tail wagged, and I had 2 more partners with me. With them, I started a company called Vestel Corporation Singapore way back in 2003. And we were doing something which is way ahead of its time right now. We started making e-book readers with a technology called e-ink, the kind of Amazon Kindles that you use right now. We started doing it in 2003, and we were way ahead of our time. We were doing extremely well, absolutely well. Whenever you have a high, you will have a low. Whenever you have a crest, you will have a trough. Whenever you have a sine, you will have a cosine. And my cosine moment came. Google introduced Android. People stopped reading. People started watching. How many of you read books? Be honest with me. People stopped reading and people started watching. And that was the beginning of the end of my company. And my partners were very smart. They left me in the lurch. And I had $150,000 negative that I had to pay back to the bank. And I still remember the day that I discussed with my wife. She is the most positive person around me. And she said, Ganesh, don't do a postmortem. Let's see what we can do. How can we fail forward? So I looked at what I can do. What are the capabilities that I have? I know a lot of customers in Singapore. I know how e-commerce platforms like eBay functions. Let's convert the opportunity from eBay. I used to buy faulty high-tech equipment on eBay, brought them to Singapore, use my friends who were repair engineers to come in the evening between 6 to 9 p.m. in the evening, converted that $5,000 equipment into a $50,000 working equipment, gave my customer 6 months warranty, and that's how for the next 2 years I was able to neutralize my 150K negative that I had into a neutral account. That is when I wanted to settle down. I wanted to go in for something which is in thing at that time, and people told me in thing at that time was cybersecurity. It still is. So I wanted to go into cybersecurity, and that's when I joined a company called Ixia that gave me an opportunity to get into cybersecurity. The managing director of the company, whom Ravi also knows very well, told me, Ganesh, I know your talent, I know you have capabilities, but you don't have experience. So I will let you learn first and then earn later. So I worked for that company for 1 year without earning a penny, but I learned a lot. To make my ends meet, as Bhavesh told me, and I used to work for an agency to sell equipment in the morning, come to Ixia in the afternoon. Later in the evening from 6 to 9, I used to go and sell equipment for Vestel Corporation Singapore, which I still had. So, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest lesson that I got so far in my life is if you never try, you never know. And if plan A doesn't work, there are 25 more alphabets. I can be a CEO. I can be a marketing person. I can be a sales engineer. I can be a repair technician. I can be a courier boy carrying that equipment from one lab to another lab. And I can be a peon doing the errands. I have the capabilities. So if plan A doesn't work, there are 25 more alphabets. So that's, to me, that still remains the biggest learning that I got. You will all agree with me that growing after 45 is probably the toughest job in the whole thing. You have come to a place, you have arrived, you're in a comfort zone, you have everything, you have money, you have power, and it's very difficult to inspire yourself to get to the next stage. But life is not like that. You need to keep growing along with life. So I didn't want to stop with the cybersecurity skills that I had. I wanted to ace an area which was popular at that point in time. It's called operational technology. People talk about IT. I went into OT. It's called operational technology. Cybersecurity of industrial process control solutions. And I got a certification in that. And that took me a few notches from where I was. And not happy with that, I wanted to marry the degree that I had. I'm a telecom engineer like Ravi, and I wanted to marry telecom with cybersecurity. So I developed a concept called 5G SOC for my company, which is a telecom cybersecurity, which has landed me in the job that I am. Another few more notches than what I was doing a couple of years ago. And I'm working for one of the reputed telecom companies in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest lesson that I'm still learning is life is all about lifelong learning. Learning never stops. If you keep looking at the old ways, you can never open the new doors. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. If you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. I would like to end my sharing with a poem that I wrote. I published 2 books. The poem from one of the books that I've written called Green Up Thy Grass. Piercing through the bottomless mind that you have, brightening the blues, painting the grays that pale your thoughts, blazing through your soul, peeping and creeping inside, and providing you with the blessings, with the bliss. Let's have new opportunities. Let's have new beginnings. And as my poet Bharatiyar said, let's be born afresh today, every day. Thank you so much for the time.